Central Park is the flagship animated program for Apple TV Plus, and it centers on the famous area's land manager and his family as they realize that an aged socialite is trying to buy up the landmark's property and sell it to developers. It is a musical with each episode containing several original songs, with many being written by Kate Anderson and Elyssa Samsel, who join us today. I'm Charlie Bright of Gold Derby, and the first question I want to ask is to you, Elyssa. I have to ask, how insane is it writing songs for every episode of a new show?
Insane or fun? It is so much fun. We've been having such a blast. And from the very beginning, Josh Gad, who actually brought us onto the project, from the very beginning, he kept saying, I want this to be a true musical. This has to be TV's first true full-blown musical. So there you have it. Go write that. And it's been such a challenge, but it's been so fun because not only is the cast amazing to write for, but the genius that Josh Gad and Nora Smith and Lauren Bouchard possess as the creators just completely influences us and lets us be silly and fun. And they always steer us to get the best song possible for the character and for the story. So we're really lucky. It may sound insane, but it's so much fun.
Yeah, and we feel really safe to be in their hands. It's definitely the kind of environment where we're allowed to try something crazy and fail and then go back to the drawing board. And even though it's all happening, usually we get like 2 weeks or so to write a song. It's been such a wonderful collaboration with everybody, and everybody's just sort of like helping us with especially at the beginning, helping us find the voices of these characters and establishing true heart in all of the songs. And it's a tall order to create a season that has to feel like a giant musical, but also each episode has to feel like a mini musical. So it's been a super fun challenge, but it's also been incredibly rewarding.
And Kate, I'm curious as to both of you guys. Were you familiar with, because Lauren Bouchard, specifically with Bob's Burgers, has it has this wonderful musical sensibility to it. It's not a musical show itself, but it does have that sensibility to it. A lot of fun original songs and a lot of great just musical moments. I'm curious, were you familiar with his work before you guys came onto this project?
Yeah, actually, it's a funny story because Josh messaged me on Instagram and said like, hey, can I talk to you guys about something? And I was like, what in the world would he want to talk about? We had worked with him on Olaf, but I immediately was so intrigued. And he ended up calling me later that night and he said, okay, so there's this crazy idea I have. And I've got all these crazy actors on board to do it. And it's going to be with, do you know the show Bob's Burgers? And I was like, are you doing something with Lauren Bouchard? And he was like, yes. And so I was like, say no more. We're in. So yeah, we were very familiar with Bob's and a huge fan of all of those songs too. I mean, it's such a unique musical voice on that show because they have somehow created this show where music just seamlessly comes in and, in some episodes and not in others, and you just never even question it. So I was immediately like, yes, absolutely. We've been dying to work with him. He's a hero of ours. So it's been really, really cool.
Yeah, we were both fans of Bob's Burgers. And I remember one of my first thoughts was, okay, so it probably has something to do with the ukulele because I knew how much Lauren loved ukulele. And the funny part is when Josh was originally telling us about it, he said, I'm doing this thing with Lauren Bouchard and it's about Central Park where Kate and I had spent so much time because we had lived in New York for ages. And he said, the main character is going to be a busker in Central Park. And I freaked out because I used to play my violin and busk with my case open in Central Park. I would play classical music. So one of the first things out of my mouth was, okay, can he play violin? Can that be his instrument? I'm so excited. And now he does. It's really fun.
So I'm curious, how many songs did you guys write for the show in total for this first season?
Oh my God, have we even counted?
That's a really good question. I'm
gonna guess between 12 and 15. That might be overly generous, but between the little reprises and things that come back, I think it's around there. Because I believe 10 episodes are coming out in the first season, and we have almost one in every single one, if not two. So that should be right.
Yeah, we'll approximate.
The other thing that I'm really curious about is, was it ever difficult to get on the same page in terms of what Lauren and Josh and the other creatives were looking for in terms of the music?
I would say that at first, yeah, I mean, we were all trying to find the voice of the show. And while Josh has a very Broadway musical theater sensibility, Lauren's sensibility, which you can hear on Bob's, is kind of completely its own thing. So they both weighed in, and we ended up finding this like beautiful marriage of musical theater with Lauren's style, with the style of a lot of what the actors were bringing in. Obviously, like we've got Leslie and David who had been in Hamilton, and and we've got Josh and Kristen who had been in Frozen, and so we were able to kind of strike a balance, I think, between a true Broadway sound with this sort of all new, all fresh kind of thing. And it's been really, really fun. And I think we've we finally sort of found the sound that everybody was maybe didn't even know they were looking for at first, but something we're all really happy with.
And so another thing that, I'm curious about in terms of composing the songs is, so you knew the talent that was going to be involved with this when you started composing, and I'm curious as to whether or not you found yourself tailoring certain numbers to the actors who would be voicing the characters that are singing the numbers.
Yeah, I think that helped, especially in the beginning. There's in episode 1, the song "Own It" was sort of our first opportunity to give each character their sound, and luckily we knew who the cast was. So in that song, it's an I want song for every single character, and I think we definitely tailored it to the cast, and that helped so much because each character ended up having their own energy in the music. Owen starts out that song and he just wants everybody to love the park as much as he does. So there's a very earnest, sort of leisurely, I want to say folky quality to him. And then Catherine Hahn bursts in and she wants to be this amazing reporter. So and Catherine Hahn has all this beautiful, excited energy. So that it ended up being in her music, it turns from being swung on Owen's section to very straight and methodical and driven and determined for Catherine Hahn's character, Paige. And then Molly and Cole are both singing about love, love of an animal and love of a fellow classmate. And so it's dreamy and it's soaring, and they've got these incredible ranges. So we wanted to just like stretch Titus Burgess as far as possible because his voice can do anything. And Kristen Bell has this soaring, beautiful bell-like voice. So we wanted to showcase that. And then we've got Stanley Tucci playing Bitsy. And so each character, and David Diggs has this pattery section because all he wants to do is make sure he's in the will so that he can inherit Bitsy's stuff. So it's, it's very methodical.
Methodical and plotting.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, but I'm also kind of nervous to ask, which of the songs you wrote for this first season were the hardest for you to nail down?
Ooh, good question. Well, I think there's some that have yet to come that were a little bit tough, where we took a couple swings to see if we could get it right, and so you'll see later in the season they took some chances on some more like experimental things, and so that was a fun challenge too, and we really wanted to try to stretch the voice of the show to see if it could even be even more heartfelt in places. And I think that was really, really fun, and something that people can look forward to is these moments where the show and the comedy almost, it doesn't stop, but it just sort of allows the character to really have a heartfelt moment. Um, and I'm curious to see what people think of those. But otherwise, you know, we really had to, in the earlier episodes, establish who these characters are and what their voices are, and what their wants and dreams are going to be for the whole season. And so there were a couple spots where we took a couple tries to get it right, and I'm glad we did, because I'm happy with the way things turned out.
So now you guys were not the sole songwriters for the songs on this on this program. You've had fantastic composers and singers like Cyndi Lauper and Sarah Bareilles compose songs for this. And I'm just curious, with the inclusion of people like this who are on such a crazy level of songwriting, and also for both of Cyndi and Sarah, musical theater level as well. Did you feel like you needed to step up your game in terms of your output?
Yes. From the very beginning, I mean, even just getting brought onto this project, we took everything we had and threw it into that opening song, Central in My Heart, because that was sort of our way of saying, please let us do this show. So I think our energy definitely from the very beginning was trying to be worthy of working with Lauren Bouchard and Nora Smith and Josh Gad, because we've just, they're idols to us. They're our heroes. So I think every song that you'll hear in season 1 was us trying to earn our place in this playground, or on this playground rather. And when you're playing with when like Alan Menken is coming down the slide and Sarah Bareilles is doing the monkey bars, and then we're the new kids in the we just came onto the playground. It's scary. It's really scary. But being 2 female songwriters in a songwriting duo, we really feel so grateful that we get to be in the same show as them. It's incredible. And I'll never forget, we had just heard Sarah Bareilles' song, and once the show had gotten picked up and they decided they were going to have guest artists, and I remember Josh played us Sarah's song, and we both looked at each other. I mean, we loved it, and then we looked at each other with this like primal fear in our eyes, and then we went and we wrote "Own It." Because that was
high.
Yeah, the bar had just gone through the roof, and we had to try to catch up to it.
So it's one thing to see a song come together, but I imagine it is a completely different thing to see that song come together as part of that whole project, and actually see your songs on screen in this lavish production actually being actually realized. And I'm curious as to what's it like seeing your numbers on a screen actually being performed like that.
Unreal in every way, and surreal. And we had experienced it once before when we wrote for Disney on Olaf's Frozen Adventure, but seeing it in this way with this cast on TV in our living rooms, insane, just insane. And Elyssa and I, we've always thought like there was always a desire in us to write for animation. I think from the very beginning, we've always had these really sort of vast dreams of what our songs, like the pictures our songs wanted to paint. and it's really fun to break out of theater and the literal and what can actually be done on the stage and see it sort of come 4D in animation, and it continues to just be like the biggest pinch me thing ever. I highly recommend it to anyone.
And the animation is so beautiful. When we see the finished product, it's gorgeous. I mean,
Yeah.
they did a fantastic job, and Central Park in the animation looks so beautiful. And to me, and I know Kate feels the same, it's really special for us to see Central Park be celebrated like this. And especially now, because, a couple weeks ago, or for the past couple of months, you can't just go into Central Park and act normal. And it's the things that Owen and his character, it's what he's trying to preserve that should be celebrated right now, because it's the going and it's the socializing and it's the beauty of the park and it's a place where people gather. And I'm just so happy that it's being memorialized in this beautiful animated world with music. And especially for me, I used to just love listening to the music in the park, and so many street performers and so many buskers, or even just people riding by on their bike and blasting music. The park is filled with music, so to musicalize it is like my wildest dream come true.
Especially, yeah, exactly. Like the fact that Elyssa busked in the park and now we're writing the show. I mean, it's like gotta be the craziest, most full circle thing for you.
I love it. It's amazing.
Well, Elyssa and Kate, thank you so much for joining us today. We wish you all the best for this Emmy season. And to our viewers, please please like this video and subscribe to our channel to get all our latest content. And don't forget to go to goldderby.com to make your predictions, and also use the Gold Derby app to make your predictions and see if you can outsmart the top prognosticators in Hollywood. Thanks so much.
Thank you.